New trend, bride expo, and nobody wants this. All this and more on today's Brilliant Observations. Do, 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 do.
Hi, Melissa. Good morning, Melissa. How are you? Super chaotic. Everything's exciting. Oh, my gosh. So I had so much fun on TikTok. Do you know the guy who plays Venom, the superhero who plays Venom? He was also like the English love interest in some Reese Witherspoon movie with that other guy who's too short but also has a good name. You know who it is. So whoever plays Venom, and he also plays the bad guy, Bane, on Batman, right? Did you know that? Well, here's the reason we're talking about this person who doesn't have a name. What's his name? Ed Hardy? Is that his name? What's his name? Is that his name, really? Did I win? I thought that was the T-shirt guy. Okay, we're talking about him because check it out. Shut up and check it out. Listen, it's exciting. Guess how he came. It's his voice is Venom, number one. It's not a fako. And the voice is like weird and creepy, but also kind of good. Guess where he came up with that voice?
Where?
You have to guess.
Star Wars.
No, what's the matter with you? I thought
The Muppet Show.
Okay.
He was doing an impression of Fozzie Bear.
You know what?
Or Darth
like
Vader.
I want to take it all back. I don't even want to have this conversation with you anymore. I feel what's the word? It's not so much disappointed as violated. I feel violated.
Good, because my mom's busy being disappointed in me. You're going to have to take violated.
I teed you up. I teed you up for your own personal interests. And the reason that I brought this is because knowing is who you are, I thought that you would immediately guess that is the voice that he made up for his dog when his dog talks to him. That's how his dog talks.
My next answer was
you're a liar.
My husband, but no, I never would have.
No, he said that's how my dog. He said that's just how my dog talks, and they were like, "Excuse me," and he goes, "Well, you know, like," and then he went into some weird statement where he goes, "You know how you pretend that your dog is talking to you," and I'm like, "Who's pretending?" Ed. Is his name Ed?
Oh my God. Good morning, Amy. How are you? Besides shot out of a fucking cannon.
And the best part is I'm super not shot out of a cannon.
Really?
I didn't want to forget that part because it was so exciting. I felt like you would get really tickled and be excited. The man's name can't be Ed. Somebody look it up. And if you're screaming in your car, I'm right there with you because in my brain I'm screaming too because I know his name is not Ed Hardy. Ed Hardy is the guy who does the shirts.
Guys, I love it when she's like this. I really do. I love it, but it's usually at the end of the episode.
What is his name?
It's Tom Hardy.
I told you it wasn't Ed. Ed's a dumb name. Sorry, Ed. But
Edward is not a dumb name. Edward is lovely.
Even when you say it like that, it's
Edward.
Like Squidward. I mean, there's a reason.
Tom Hardy is the actor.
I told you in your car. Thank you. Thank you, Amy, for knowing the right name. Thank you.
I do love that people on the regular do voice for their animals.
Yes.
I do it all the time. I have 3 dogs, 3 different voices. Mm-hmm. Our friends in Maine, their dogs have accents of Maynards. They have appropriate...
That can't be what we call people from Maine. Wow.
I didn't call them Maynards.
That's worse. That's like a bad grocery chain in the Midwest. You can't call... We're going to come up with new names.
Mainers.
That's not right. That can't be right. That can't be right.
Manians. Maniacs.
Okay, that's like calling people from Kentucky Kentuctards. Like you don't get to call people Maynards.
Wait, that's not true because people from Massachusetts are massholes. So it is
they earned that moniker.
Yeah,
look,
all right.
I'm not in charge of it. I just have to tell you how it is.
I'm
not in charge of it. I'm just the judge. I'm the
this morning
as we have oft heard, self-appointed and earned judge, right? Earned and self-appointed right.
No doubt whatsoever to be a fact with no evidence whatsoever. Yes, we know you, Amy. We know you.
I have universal evidence. I get vibidence. I know what it's from. Okay? I get it.
Vibidence.
Feel it.
I've got vibidence on this topic.
I got the vibidence. Woo!
This morning, my husband and I drove to the municipal building. We record early. We drove earlier to the municipal building.
Ring-a-ding-ding. For what?
To vote.
We
got a little nervous. No, we don't really absentee things. I'm a show up in person kind of girl. It's weird. I'm weird like that. I get it. I know it counts either way.
No, that's not what I'm saying. In North Cackalack, We started early voting in 2017. Like we get a
Love
early
that.
voting period. We're
We
in week
don't.
3 of early voting. So did it just start for you? That's
So
what I'm
it's-
curious about. Why today? Yeah.
We don't. Pennsylvania does not have early voting.
Oh.
They have wild absentee voting, but they don't have. They have mail-in ballots out your gazunga, but they do not have early voting. And when we heard tale of that, we raced to the 3 locations in the entire state, maybe our county. I don't know. I looked it up.
Well, let's just step off onto that ledge, okay?
Step
And
off.
I'm going to nerd out briefly, not enough for you to have to edit, but technically I now know this because I have done every form of early voting that is possible to do because I have teens in the house who can't be bothered to get to a polling place.
Fuck 'em.
From there,
Oh, no. Vote.
It's inconvenient. And in North Carolina, all early voting is known as absentee voting technically, all of it, even though they refer to it widely and regularly as early voting.
Oh.
And so I am technically an absentee voter as well, and I went and stood in line and went to a polling place and did it. And in our case, they open myriad polling places where you can early vote, and you need not vote in your own precinct. As long as you're anywhere within your county, and there
Correct.
were guessing 26 locations
Wow.
that are
We had
open
3.
from
Wow.
7 a.m. until 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday for 4 weeks. And I actually took my young kids, not this election cycle, I think it was in 2016, and stormed, walked in with a giant volume of people into the courthouse. We sat in the balcony. It was so full at a community hearing where they were
Wow.
trying to take away and reduce. They wanted to get rid of all weekend early voting because there's something called Souls to the Polls where on some Sundays it's open and churches will have a service and then provide bus service and then everybody goes and votes. And so the city council was going to abolish this. So we all went and picketed, and we were in a too small room for the volume of people that were in there, screaming, yelling, no, when they were doing the vote.
Oh, my God.
They shut down the meeting. My kids were there, and I was like, is this a good idea? And then they shut down the meeting. They walked out. They did something in the hallway where they chatted to each other. They came back in, and they said, we're going to leave it as we had it. But they were trying to take away 13 polling places and 2 weekends. And we went in and argued and said, no, you're not going to. And the reason for this is not only convenience. The reason for this is not only voter participation. The reason for this is basic fairness. And I know that now because my one 21, 22-year-old, however old he is, the other one 19, they could figure out a way to get to a polling place. But it is really difficult for them to do so with school and work schedules to physically be available and in the county because they both work outside of this county. So think about someone who works a night shift. Think about someone who works longer than a typical day shift. How difficult it must be. So I understand that these laws are there for lots of people who don't fit into the I can go whatever morning or day I want.
Now substitute voting for abortion. Think about someone who doesn't have the ability, who works late at night and who doesn't have the ability, who's had them closed in their state, who has laws against this. Yes, 1,000 times yes. When we went, we did exactly what my children did, which was the absentee ballot, but we watched it go right into the hands of I did it because I kind of fear November 5th. Because I'm working the polls also, and I don't know that I'm going to be able to get in and out of my polling place before getting to where I'm working, which is not my polling place. So it's not like I could take a break.
It was so unusual. So when I went to vote early, which is technically absentee, it took a little over an hour, I think. When my husband went 2 days later, it took about an hour and a half. Then when I went the third time, all I was doing was dropping off my kids completed their own absentee ballots. It was mailed to them. They completed it. They had to have 2 people witness them complete it. They had to have photocopies of their ID in a separate envelope, 3 envelopes.
Seriously?
3 envelopes all signed.
We don't do that.
And had to have it countersigned by 2 people or a notary. Then you have to drop it off. So absentee voting on a piece of paper is an ass pain. And I followed every fucking procedure, but I didn't want to pay $1.77 each to mail in the ballots like
The
one
ballots
for
say
each
no
child.
mail. Okay. They say no
You-
postal necessary. What are you talking
I
about?
thought it would be first class paid, and I thought it would all be
Yeah.
like you could just drop it in the mail. No.
Yeah.
So you could drop it off for free, or you could mail it for $1.77. And I said, I'll just go drop it off. I know where these places are. So I went back to the same place, and I had a totally different procedure than walking in and filling it out. And I did what you did, where I sat down at a desk with a guy, and I had to sign different forms, and are you who you say you are, and how did you represent, and blah, 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 ask the basic questions. Then he said, okay, now you are going to observe me taking this ballot, and you are now you are following the chain of custody of this ballot. And he did it twice, one for one and one for the other. And I had to watch him stand up from the desk, walk over to a locked box, unlock it, put the ballot in, lock it again, come back, sit down, and do it again. And I'm like, this is so fucking ridiculous, and I kind of love it. But that's how serious they fucking take it.
How many people were there? You can't. That's like a 40-minute thing for each person, and I was with hundreds of people, and that
for
could
the
take
people
6
who were
months.
But see, we don't. But those are for the filled out absentee ballots being dropped off in person. Everyone else, while I did that, it took
there
me
were 2 other lines.
It took me about 10 minutes to complete that procedure with him, and I had to wait in line to do that for about 30 minutes. I'm not kidding. In that time, I would estimate that 60 people voted by walking in, because they have 5 people waiting to check you in.
Okay.
And so and then there are 30 voting stations for you while you're in there at one location, of which there are 26. There was one help desk. Blah, blah, blah. Fun with voting.
We'll see. I just had on the drive home, I just had the argument, heated exchange with my spouse saying, he's like, I can't believe this is 50-50 because we did just watch, oh, dear God,
Right.
that fucktard speak at the convention.
You watched the Nazi rally?
At the rally at Madison Square Garden, because he's such a fan of dictators.
Yep.
The Tony Hinchcliffe, like when a comedian is your opener and what he does is trash Puerto Ricans and call.
Well, here's
whatever.
what I'm going to do. Check me out. I got to go on full record because I watched most of that and really just turned it off faster than the networks who were airing it chose to turn it off, because I was like, I see what I need to see.
That's not for me. That's
I
not
got
for
it.
me.
Peace out. Yeah, not watching this. Okay, so I absolutely saw the comedian make those 2 sickening jokes, and they were, to me, they weren't jokes. They were just they weren't jokes. They weren't dog whistles. They were just flat out racism, like on display. It didn't feel like that was a joke.
Open racism,
right?
Right. I wasn't waiting
I get
for a
that
laugh.
his intention. I get that in the same way that I don't feel like a comedy roast is a joke either. So just understand how this is not a political distinction in my case. This is a comedic distinction. I feel like there are lots of ways to get a rise out of people in the form of laughter. That's not one I'm gonna align with. In any event, I have to now out myself, because on this very show, I brought this man's comedy and thought it was hilarious, and that my kids had seen it and that they showed it to me and how funny it was. Because I don't know if you remember, when I was in Boston over the summer, we were all riding around in a car together and they were showing me some parody of Trump and Biden comics who were each playing Trump and Biden, and then they had stand-up comedians come in and they had like an interaction, and the guy playing Trump, he said, well, a stranger comes up and he goes, well, I'm from Korea, and Trump goes, gross. I just thought it was so funny.
I remember this, yeah.
The whole thing, right. So they were guests on Kill Tony. Who is that comedian? His name is Tony Who Cares a Fuck, and his show is Kill Tony. And I already was saying, look how ha ha ha. But this, I take it all back, because that shit's not funny. It's super gross. And the context of where he said it. Look at her face. Nobody's going to hear this because she's cutting it all. God bless her.
I'm not.
It's
Tony Hinchcliffe. And I don't want to give him publicity, but it fits. It checks. It fits. I honestly think he was not vetted at all. I think he was recommended by his youngest son, Barron, to open, and Trump said, oh, Barron's getting involved in politics. I'll take his suggestion. The same way your kids showed you that video. Barron showed Dad, hey, this is a comedian you want. Sure, I'm going to give him the biggest audience I've had, by the way. Also missing the armbands in Madison Square Garden that day. I would not turn it on, but Yeah,
Well,
it's the biggest ick feeling.
Here's another interesting thing that I have heard 1, 2, 5, 30 people suggest, pundits, not just friends, that all of this is not about the politics. Two ways. We sort of can surmise the intent of the locations that are chosen, of the topics that are selected. When you go and speak to the National Association of Black Journalists, and the only thing that you want to do when you're there is insult them, it's not because you are interested in courting the audience of national Black journalists. You're interested in courting the audience who knows that you will go anywhere and stick your thumb in the face of people you dislike. That's the audience you're courting. So mission accomplished. And we can draw comparisons to the Nazi rally in 1939. We can draw lots of comparisons of dark days, darkest days, most horrific. But here's the thing that really, really kind of freaked me out. When I heard a newscaster say, the reason that people get up and leave these rallies is not so much that they are tired or that they are bored. It's that they are checking a box. That this is one person's opinion, right? Which I thought it was a great insight. The people who wait in line all day, 8 hours, just to see Donald Trump. And then he gets on stage and they stand up and leave 15 minutes in or 30 minutes in. They're not doing it because they dislike Trump. They're not doing it because they've turned. They're not doing it because they are in any way lessened. They're doing it because they were there to support the dictator and the platform. He is just the useful mechanism. And so they can say, I saw Trump. They have no interest in seeing Trump. They have no interest in being bored. Their ass is achy. They're hungry. There's no food. They need a bathroom.
They already waited 8 hours.
Their legs are swollen. I checked that box. I did it. And now they can go. And I sat there because it's about participating in that platform. And it's not just about him. And because that's the case, it doesn't matter what he says. It honestly doesn't matter who is at the podium, because it's the platform that's being supported. We are for these hateful ideas. And the more attention that you, whoever you are, pick anybody at the front of the podium today, great for us. Because finally, somebody is taking our hateful views and putting them and getting them the attention they want. Right. So if that's the case, you can never change their opinion, because they're not actually for Trump. They're just for the worst and most base and hateful ideology that he's trumpeting.
Welcome to our country.
They get it. No, but it's also, then there's lots of optimism and lots of hope too, where you say that the strongest base, his base, is with non-college educated adults, and that number has actually shrunk. There are more college educated adults now than there were the last time he ran and when there were the time that he was elected. So his actual base is getting smaller, and those surrounding his base, independents, people who are not aligned with his ideology, has grown. So there's lots of reasons to be optimistic, and all the more reason to get up our legal defenses, because the only way that this election will be contested no matter what. It doesn't matter who the elected victor is. It will be contested. Period. So it's
the objection.
That's where we are.
The fight I had in the car today on our way home from there was him saying, the spouse saying, I can't believe it's 50-50. And I said, I'm going to stop you right there. I don't know why I chose this moment to say, the country is not split 50-50. You're talking about likely voters, which is almost half of the country doesn't vote, period. So likely voters, 50% of them. So if that's half, that's 25% of the country is a Trump fan. What you're looking for is the unlikely voters. That's who you want. People who are like, nah, I don't know. I don't care. It doesn't affect. That's the poll. So we had this little tiff in the car, and he's like, I don't understand the difference without a different. I'm like, you know what? Let's just ride home quietly, because politics, which is not what this show is about, is very divisive to start with. So I am going to give you a topic right now that is less divisive, and I'm going to show you how it is actually also divisive. Hey, Aim, I think you saw the series that I had seen previously called Nobody Wants This. Are you
have
going
you
to
seen
opine?
it? Did you tell me? Did you tell me to watch it? And that's why I finally watched it and said it was great. I totally blanked on that part. I think I remember now that you said, because it kept coming up as, you really ought to watch this, dumbass. What are you doing, stupid?
Melissa
Stop what
said
come on.
it's time.
And I felt like those messages were too negative. So I wasn't going to do that if you're going to be so mean to me, Netflix, by calling me stupid and dumb and all these things. And nobody wants this. And it's so ugly. And get the ick. It just felt so heavy. For whatever reason, wild hair, I think it was football, Formula One, baseball. I was just like, I'm going in the other room. I'm not interested in any of that. And I popped it. I was like, well, let's see what this is. Oh, I know what it was. I was mending a shirt. And I thought,
things Melissa would never say for 100.
I've gotten so into mending anymore. I don't, we're going there. So if you take, first of all, I'm a terrible hand stitcher. I don't even know what to cut. I love that Annie in Maine is laughing her head off because not only are they fucking quiltorama, but her daughter's like doing a side hustle where she's
unbelievable,
a hand couturier or some other
talented people. Fuck them.
Yeah, I love your Quaker handicap craft. It's just delightful. So
Quaker handicap craft.
Well, I had holes in some shit, or I don't remember what the fuck it was. A button's falling off of crap. All these things. Oh, I exactly remember what it was. It was the backs of the ties, right? You know, on ties, how they have that little tag, and you use it to hide the tail of the tie.
Yeah.
Well, in putting away the ties that were worn recently by my 5 guys, they were all torn and ripped asunder, as they kind of always are. And I thought, I'm just not going to do this. I'm just not going to put these broken items of value carefully stored with a rip in them. Like, it's 3 stitches. How difficult can this be? Turns out it's really fucking difficult because you have to stitch the silk on the back without making it show on the front. So you got to stick something in. Anyway, so it was like, I'm in. I'm going. I had the whole box of ties. I only did a handful of them, but I started stitching. And I thought, all right, I'm just going to sit down. I'm going to put on something I don't really have to look at. What would that be? I know, this dumb show. So I put it in, cut to. I didn't finish those ties because the show is really good. And it pulled me away and made me watch.
Ties? Okay.
Not just one.
And what'd you think?
Well, we have multiple tie wearers here.
You've
and
got
they all
gents.
share the ties.
What'd you think of Nobody Wants This? You don't have to follow my ADHD brain. Finish your sentence.
Well, I kind of wanted to talk about the ties and also the stitching, but we'll go to the love affair. I thought, let's think, lots of things. Well written, well done, poppy dialogue, very fresh, light enough. I thought it was going to be extremely heavy and relationships bad and adulting hard. It really wasn't that. It was honestly relationship bad, adulting hard was the premise, and their answer was, is it though? Does it have to be? Can we be a different kind of adult, like one you would like? It was a refreshing take on the rom-com because of, instead of stupid, oversimplified answers to things, they did things like, he told this crazy lie, and now we get to wait 34 minutes for you to figure out he wasn't lying at all, and you forgive him.
That I loved about it.
Instead, the question was, did you tell me a lie? And the answer is no. And the response was, okay, I trust you. I'm like, what's that?
My favorite one of those from that series was, she acquired what we all women describe as an ick, right? Something happened in the relationship. Some scene happened. My daughter phrases it, just watch him chase a ping pong ball and you'll decide if this is a human I could spend the rest of my life with. That's the ultimate test for her. So he did something, and immediately, instead of waiting the 30 minutes for the Three's Company, a misunderstanding that we need to wait to have other.
Right.
Well, they did have one of those, but it wasn't as big as.
But it started and ended with, first of all, stop calling it a sport coat, and number 2, don't wear it. I agree with both of these, right? I was on board for the whole thing. It was shot well. That scene in particular.
Everybody loved it. I did not.
Yeah. You didn't love Nobody Loves This, whatever it's called?
Nobody Wants This. I thought it could have been amazing. There were a couple of icks in it for me. And it was Adam Brody, who
I don't know who that is.
Wanted to share the rabbi, who wanted to share Judaism in an ick kind of way. Let her find it and let her come to it. Don't smother her. I loved the typical Jewish
you're so
mother.
Charming.
But when he tried to just push his religion on her. And here, you're not going to like this one. At the very end, when he has spent his whole life wanting to be this conservative rabbi and be in this congregation, he gives it all up for ass. I don't think so.
You're so hilarious.
I
Let's
don't
catch
think
everybody
so.
up. I'm going to do the 2 sentences. It's a boy-girl romance. The girl lead
Spoiler
is
alert.
a sex podcaster. She has a conversation style sex podcast with her sister. She is all the way say whatever you want to do, right? And no holds barred. Very, very relaxed. Ends up through fish out of water, doesn't make any sense, with a rabbi who was in the running to be head rabbi at his regular temple, right? So it's not reform. I don't know if it was reform or whatever, but it was.
Well, if the issue
it was
is
on the
your
conservative side,
partner
I guess.
is not Jewish, then it leans more conservative. Yeah.
They were, yeah. So, and where he was basically told, if you're dating someone who's not Jewish, you're not interested in being a rabbi, because that's kind of one of the core tenets here. So he already had this conflict in the beginning, and he says it to her in the very first, when they first start dating and realize this could be something. They even have a conversation. Is this a problem? And they're like, maybe, but I'm not ready to stop.
I can't
based
take
on
my
this
lips
problem.
off yours.
So I love that you saw his reaction in those 2 pivotal moments in their relationship where the dynamic, and you turned both of them into, your analysis of what he did is so opposite of mine, and I love it. First of all, you don't know that he gave it up. You don't know at all that he gave it up.
Well, he was told he had to give it up if he chose her, and he chose her.
Here's the truth. He was not told he had to give it up. He was told, it is very unlikely. It is difficult. I don't know what will happen. It's a sure thing without her. It's a sure thing if your partner is Jewish. If your partner is not Jewish, there are no guarantees. So it was never a hard no. It was just be smart. And she, from the very beginning, gave all these signs of being open to converting and was moving on her own pace. And then he started to hustle her into, I'm going to woo her. Right. But it was done from this idea of, I know she loves it. I love her. We both want this. So I'm going to make it as attractive as possible. And it came off as stupid and overbearing as him wearing that sport coat to meet her parents, when he did totally out of character things for himself to impress someone else. That's exactly what he did to her about Judaism. And I think he realized it in that end scene when he was like, it's got to be right for you. It's got to be right for you. And she says, I know that, and I'm not ready yet. And he's like, then I get that. And also, I'm not letting you go because you are right for me. And if you being right for me means that my expression as head rabbi is somehow not cool with God, then there's a problem there. That's how I read it. And there's a season 2. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I guarantee you it's a both and. The whole show was a both and.
You can admit that we're coming to it from very different histories. And I have a history of being Jewish and seeing how, being sensitive to how Jews are perceived and trying not to, here, I'll start from growing up, trying not to pick up change on the street. So somebody says, oh, look at that Jew picking up a penny, and trying not to help you figure out the tax or the tip on the doubling the whatever it is at a restaurant. Or as Jews, we have to be very cautious about how we present ourselves. And when somebody else presents themselves in a way that gives us an ick, there's there's more to the story than a light and fluffy written by David Foster's daughter who married there's a lot more to it. And it comes with, remember that breadline mentality stuff we talked about before, and the years of when we talked about what my parents can get rid of and how they're not capable of getting rid of certain things as they move. I come to it more weighted, and I would like to think society who is not Jewish and does not come to it with the weight of, oh God, what are they going to think about the Jews now? Son of Sam, a notorious murderer.
What the fuck?
I'll take you there. Was Jewish, and my nana said, oy vey, why does he have to be Jewish? He did all of these terrible things. Now look what they're going to think about the Jews, that they're serial killers. And I said, Nana, one out of 2,000. Like, I think we're okay. One son of Sam can be okay. And then I turned to her and said, he was adopted. So,
I mean, the whole thing, I absolutely honor your perspective on this. It's not about changing or challenging it in any way.
Yeah.
I'm laughing because it is so vastly different. And first of all, for the record, everything that you've said now is a fulsome response to the entire show. It has nothing to do with the ick or the other stuff that we were talking about at the top. That wasn't Jew or non-Jew. That was just why would you give this up? Anyone, why would you give this up? What did you think about the mother character, and what did you think about the sister-in-law character? Because those two drove me up a fucking wall.
So I loved them both with my whole heart.
Sickening.
A mother that says blatantly out, you're not good enough, you'll never have my son, like you're not good enough.
It was Crazy Rich Asians, the Jewish version.
Version.
Yeah.
And
it was My Big Fat Greek Wedding, the Jewish version.
Correct.
It was Romeo and Juliet, the Jewish version. We get the trope. So I'm there with you.
I didn't have as much of an ick from the mother. You know, you see a stereotypical Jew. I'm fine with the Larry Davids. Like, if you are going to play this out to the obnoxious point, I'm here for it. I've seen it. I'm related to it. However, if the gentle ick, like the pushing, is what pushed like my Jewy buttons a little. But the sister-in-law, the sister-in-law, I understood her to think it had nothing to do with Kristen Bell not being Jewish. It had to do with the fact that you were dating for 6 years, my best friend.
3
Our
years.
lives were planned. We were fucking doing this. And then that flipped. And I don't really even think with her. I love all of those angry Jews. I love all of them. I know them. So I don't have a problem with them. It's the joyful part that everybody else saw that I took issue with. Which
so
just
funny.
sounds weird to say. It sounds weird that I'm finding an issue with joy. You know what else used to bring joy? And I really want your opinion.
Let's kill it!
I'm getting opinions from all over the country, okay? Mail order items. When you were young, did you get in your family, because I know you have 2 siblings, 2 parents, that's 5 of you. I grew up in a 5er. Did you get a catalog every year that you all waited for and were excited to get? What was it? What were you looking for? And was it just the super shiny pages that were really thin? And what did you have with mail order?
I enjoyed catalog delivery days because I am a sucker for printed paper, for periodicals. I treated them like magazines.
Always.
It was never something that, and there was kind of a little daydream, a little fantasy. It had nothing to do with ever acquiring anything in the catalog. Nobody ever cared about it or talked about it or wanted to look at it. It was just, I liked it when the mail came. I liked getting something out. I liked getting anything at all, and the printed page and all that kind of a stuff. So catalogs that would arrive, we had the gamut. Time was we got the Sears catalog. Time was we got the IKEA catalog with a big thick spine on it. That was a fascinating day. Spiegel catalog would come. That was kind of gross. Then there was a cavalcade of like these shitty, cheap true mail order.
Like Oriental Trading, like that
Before
kind of crap?
that, Oriental Trading is like the new version. Is honestly the sanitized version. There was something with a Sally in it. There were 3 or 4, and they were not even regular magazine size. They were a smaller footprint. And they would sell shit and they would have maybe 12 items. So 12 thumbnail photos with a caption per page. So 24 per spread, which is way too many. Compare that to, right. So the whole thing felt like, it was like the classifieds version, almost like an Avon style catalog.
Okay.
And I know it's not Sally Hansen because I think those are fingernails, but it was something like that, like Betty Crocker. Not that either, but it was along the lines of those sorts of things. And it would be the same comb. You could get like a curly hair wet comb, and it was something like, I don't know, $3, which is the same as like $30. Like, it was a ridiculous. And those were kind of good, but they were also, you knew they were cheap. You would get it and think, it was the Temu of our day. And I know I say it wrong and I won't change. So I loved it when they arrived, and it was definitely fun, but I didn't have to fight anybody for it. Nobody else cared.
Really? It was just you? That was your slight kink?
And I don't know that I cared that much. It was just something to do, I think. Yeah.
People have been discussing with me like what catalogs came. I got a lot of Spiegel, that one. I got Consumer Distributors. Do you know that at all?
Never heard of. No. Mm-mm.
Everything from electronics to clothing. It was the Sears for us. It was everything. But the ToysRUs toy book, the look book that used to come.
We never got that. No, never.
I'm so sorry.
There was like a circular that would show up maybe, but nobody ever got it. No, we never got that.
It was
we wouldn't order anything. So, I mean, I guess they were only sending us.
We ordered it either, but we folded down pages. Like, these are Jews who never made a list for Santa. So it's not like we needed fodder there's something about the thinness of the waxy paper. Like, if you turn it too quickly, you obviously rip it. Like, it's almost biblical as
Targets
you're trying
are like that now. There's a Target
that
does that. Yeah. Target has done something like that. I think there was a J.C. Penney thing that would come to the house, but
Pennies.
that was closer. It was closer to like Sears or whatever. And there was a big kiddo section in that as well. So with, the stuff you're supposed to want. Yeah. Back when I was in college and, or around those years, I would get something along the lines of, there was like I would get ridiculous catalogs. I got J. Peterman. I got a Bergdorf catalog one time. Like the Neiman Marcus, the FAO Schwartz. I got like a Bible.
It was
the kind of thing where it was like $6. Then when as an adult, I would for some reason, I happily stumbled into the waste of all waste, the Restoration Hardware deck that shows up, and it comes on a pallet. It's like the Oxford English Dictionary. It's so fucking giant and ridiculous. And I don't know how I got so lucky to stumble into this waste. Now I just get Uline catalogs, which are gross, bigger than a phone book. And Uline, of course, is a packaging distributor, and they are not people we should support. And at the same time, everyone gets their support. Sorry. So there, you cannot find.
They distribute everything.
You cannot find cheaper or better packaging materials, and they are 100% interested in Heritage Foundation style takeover of everybody and everything. So I don't love it, but at the same time, I'm going to do it. So.
It's the Amazon theory. They are horrible, but
right?
They are wildly
but
available.
They are so terrible, and I really, really resent writing them this check and getting all this stuff delivered to my house.
Again.
And I hate the way they treat their workers. And where's my delivery? Because I'm still waiting for it. I mean, yeah, I get it.
The cars, the packaging.
We are hypocrites.
Yeah,
welcome to
great.
America. Yeah.
When you watched your TV shows, do you watch with or without subtitles?
Always subtitles. Always subtitles. I love subtitles. I hated them when my parents first started using them, and we're talking 8 years ago, maybe 6, 7, 8 years ago. We would, for holidays, be there and the subtitles be on, and I found them so distracting and so irritating. And then all of a sudden I realized I could actually see what was being said when the room was too noisy to hear, because too many people are talking or throwing a football or cooking or something is going off in the other room.
Holidays sound like fun by you.
It's very noisy. It's very, very noisy. So it was helpful to be able to see. And then that migrated into my own life whenever I would watch something like Peaky Blinders, where the accent was so thick, right? I found it transformative to be able to keep up. Or if I watch something like Lupin, where they're speaking in French, and I am not going to kid anybody that I can keep up with anything more than Catcher Van Sank. That's it. I'm in and out. So I definitely have to watch to see what the hell is happening. And now those experiences were the gateway drug into subtitles. Okay, so now I adore them. I love them. I put them on all the time. I don't, for scripted shows only. I will not. Yeah. I will. Well, I mean, then I get enraged when I have subtitles on accidentally for live coverage of anything, sports, news.
It's delayed too much.
And it's not correct. And I'm like, so no, because if you'll notice, the subtitles are also fake, right? The translated subtitles.
Yeah.
They write them so they fit neatly on the screen at the time and don't fuck up the scene. They don't translate directly. They'll tweak the expression of what's being said so that it matches the language. For example, if it would have taken too long for me to translate from whatever language it's in into English, it would be a spoiler on the scene because it would be on the screen beforehand.
Right.
So they just rewrite it. And so that's kind of fun when I love to watch shit over and over while I'm mending. And then I can say, oh, look at me. I do understand French. Ha, ha, ha. Ha, ha, ha. Arc de triomphe.
I have to go back to Florida.
Croissant.
Yes, that is, we subtitle. Do you know how when you're driving, you have to lower the volume to see better, like to know what was going on with
I only
the
have
radio?
to do that when I'm out of gas. I turn everything,
which
I
is
turn
every
everything
week.
off. No, I don't do that anymore.
Oh, really?
Whenever it tells me that you need gas,
you wait for it to tell you, though.
I will acknowledge within the first 30 miles of it telling me I need gas. Do you understand what an improvement? That's the same as saying I'm never out of gas in my life. Normally, I am waiting and wondering how many more restarts do I get before I'm dead in my own driveway and can't start it to go get the gas. Do I get 3 restarts? Do I get 3 round trips to someplace close? How many do I get? I don't do that anymore. Now, if it gives me the ding and I say,
gives me the ding.
And then I'll go, I will address it. Everybody happy? Be happy.
Is it a sign of my brain being bad or good when I walk by someone and they are singing a song and then I own that song for the rest of the day? Like, I fucking hate it when my husband just breezes by me and is like, 76ers and starts singing this. Well, actually, it's not a good example. I love that song. So, but if he's going by... I don't even want to do it because it's going to go right in my head. Is that a strong brain or a weak brain? I know all the lyrics. I don't
understand why it goes into your head so strongly because there is a kind of neurological mnemonic that happens when you hear a song when you're doing some other mindless or repetitive activity. Like if you are taking out the trash, if you're fixing your coffee, taking out the trash, backing out of your driveway, something that you do without thought, where all of the steps there are multiple steps and your brain has already internalized them. So once you begin the process, you go to completion. Sometimes you're driving somewhere and you realize I forgot that didn't know that I took the past 3 turns.
Right.
Yes.
How did
it's because your brain did it because you were on autopilot. When you are on autopilot and hear a song, it embeds into your brain as part of that autopilot. So it's like, oh, you want to remember this in the same way you want to remember how to back out of your driveway without looking because you know where the things are. So now you're going to sing 76ers for the next 13 days. So it's odd to me that being exposed to this while not doing anything,
correct,
it still lodges into your brain.
Like crazy. It's an earworm every time. Every single time. Here's the worst one. I got guns in my head and they won't go.
Oh.
It's usually a TikTok blurb where my husband does not know the whole song. Leaves me with that blurb. He just passes through the kitchen, gets in the car, goes to work, and I am making the dog's foods going, spirits in my head and they won't go. Like, I just cannot. Is it a sign of weakness, absorbency? What? The brain is the ultimate study for me.
Well, I think that you have stumbled into the bounty conundrum. We cannot have weakness and absorbency and be the best paper towel. So...
That is true.
You, my friend.
So what is it? It's one or the other.
I think it is both and. We are back to it, gal pal.
Nobody wants that, Amy. Nobody wants that.
You have a strong and absorbent brain. It is strength that you are able to take on the eccentricities, qualities, and superpowers of all around you, including the sonic vibrations that enter your cortex.
Sonic vibrations.
Let's go.
I love that.
See? How is this bad? Has to be good. All good. All good all the time. All good. All good in the hood.
Okay, the next TikTok that wasn't singing, I've got guns in my head and they won't go. Dear listener, I apologize. Oh, wait. Dear listener, from you I want, because I always have an ask, what catalogs did you look forward to when it was, season, which is like October, November, like you're getting ready to make your Christmas list? I get the assignment. Were you excited by catalogs and what were they? And also tell us where in the country you are. I'm desperate to hear. I miss those days. I saw a TikTok that there's a bride expo. Yeah? Makes
Yeah.
sense. There's a
Yeah.
toy expo. Yeah. There's lots of expos for special interest. A bride expo is something my mother used to go to as an employee of a country club where she did all of the event planning. Fantastic. Vendors, favors, ideas. Wow. So, I just married a friend and I sent her a few ideas of things you can do for a more modern wedding. You have recently gone to a wedding.
I did.
And a family wedding, so it's even better. Wedding. I have had I guess, couple of years where I've been anti-bride because they have made it completely about themselves
Or maybe always. Yes.
or maybe always, and not had a concept of what a marriage was and just what a wedding was. So I will step again off my soapbox and tell you this TikTok showed me other things that you could do at weddings. The one I discussed with my favorite bride when I said, there's an app everybody can put on their phone to be the disposable camera. And just look at this QR code, scan it, and 25 pictures from each person's phone will dump into a unique place where only you have access. Go. Great. The concept at the new Bride Expo, bud tenders at your wedding.
Wow. If you are that into it that you need a bud tender, you're not closeted about it. So why need you a bud tender? Or is this like a sommelier who is there to assist the others who may not know?
What you want out of your weed, how the best way to the uptake, what are your likes and dislikes.
So instead of or
terpenes.
in addition to open bar.
Oh, totally. There was an open bar.
Or cash bar. In addition
Yeah.
to, there is also a bud bar.
Correct.
With a bud tender.
Correct.
For
Telling you
consumption of the weedy seedies.
Telling you, I rolled these this morning. This one will give you this kind of feeling. This one tends to, and all of these terpenes are for X, Y, or Z. Okay.
This is fantastic. Why wouldn't we do this? I
Is this
love
all
this.
free? That is so expensive. That's why we don't all do it, because it's wildly expensive.
Well, how much do you think it is to have proper liquor? It's not inexpensive for that.
It's a few grand. Okay, so the same concept with the.
Here's why I love it as someone who doesn't take weed in any way, right?
Unless you're with me and I make you.
I love it
Because I'm a good friend.
because in a state where it is legal, right? So there's no issue here. This is as
Right.
legal as
I wonder
serving
what state it was.
alcohol. Well, can you
Correct.
serve it? Like, it's one thing for it to be legal for you to buy it or to
Yeah.
have it, to gift it, or like at all. There's all those questions. So we're going to
Buy it,
presume
gift it.
we're going to presume that all of that is a-okay. This is great. So
Twist
there's no
it, punch
there's
it.
there's right. Bop it. There's no issue. Smoke it. There's no issues here. Dance, bitch. Dance. Yeah. Yeah.
Could you imagine the on the smoke it side?
Try again. Yeah. So no, I don't know.
Didn't inhale. Bop it. I said toke it. Sorry.
So we're going to presume all that stuff is yes,
legal.
yes, yes. Check.
Okay.
This is a case where in a relatively safe space, as a one-time memory-making, literal partaking atmosphere, a celebration where relaxation, entertainment, looseness, and literal joy is desired from everyone. The idea is to indulge in things that are, we'll call them, it's a little bit of bacchanalia. You're going to indulge, right?
To the left of the chocolate fountain, you will find the bud tender.
We're going to have multiple sweets. We're going to have a sumptuous meal. We're going to have dancing. We're going to have cheering, joy. We're going to have
nudity, orgies to the left.
Yes, and also you're going
to
have
the right.
And so if you're there with your dad who has not been able to sleep, who has not been able to sleep for years, and maybe asked a question one time privately, how does that even work? And is that a thing? And would that fix this condition or that condition? You're not going to roll up and offer some weed or leave it in the cabinet. That's not how this is. But in that environment, it's like, here's your chance. Feels safe, feels permission structured, feels vetted, right? Where better than to sample a little bit of, grandma and grandpa are going to microdose. And you're going to get to feel what these effects are for 43 minutes. and then it's over and someone else drives you home. I think that is brilliant. I don't see it as anything more because in the same way, we don't worry about grandma and grandpa, mainlining on champagne pallets when they get home.
Right.
No,
right,
maybe
right.
you have too much champagne when you're there. Maybe you try this one time when you're there. It doesn't finger snap you into a lifestyle
addiction.
shift.
Right.
And for people and there are more thoughtfully, consciously abstaining from alcohol people in your life than you know about. And it is really tricky to be in an environment
Socialize.
where you want to use the visible symbols of joy and participate in every part of it, but you really don't want to fuck up whatever you're doing in your own life. And it could be dietary, it could be health, it could be mental, it could be all of the above, it could be none of the above, right? So if your option is to have been using weed anyway, great. You don't bring your own steak to the wedding.
You do not.
They
and
provide
you could
a
have
steak.
dietary things there too.
Right.
Correct.
They provide a steak, and you either eat the steak or you don't. So we're providing the weed, and you can either. I think it's great. I love it.
Isn't that lovely? I was shocked at first, and then I thought, fucking brilliant. I love that you're doing this. The ideal place to do this. We went to a wedding a couple of years ago on a campground where this young man had gone to camp for all these years and had worked, and he brought his fiance there and had a wedding at their camp. Their friends stayed in-house. They stayed in the buildings on the campgrounds. The grown-ups, let's be honest, drove and stayed at hotels and whatever. So if you're all staying here, yeah, that's how you do it. That would have been so smart. Those are very clean living Maine people, though. Maynards, what did we come up with? Maniacs? We did not.
I just know it's not a Maynard. That's not what this is. That ain't it. That's just not it. Delawaron. Like, there's just lots of ways that you don't want to go.
Delawarons. Delawaronians. There's a new trend on TikTok. I'm going with trend. Couples running, saying, suspect thinks he's
I'm out. We got to go for a run now, Pat.
Husband films wife fake running, saying, suspect thinks she can cook but only makes pasta. Suspect on the run only makes pasta, thinks she can cook. And then they laugh and giggle, and then she takes the phone and says, suspect thinks I think he goes to the gym, but as he's running, but I know that he goes to Dunkin' Donuts because he's on Life 360. Then they all laugh, and then he says about her, suspect wears the same clothes or knows that when she eats rice, she has explosive diarrhea and still has rice every day. And everybody laughs. I don't think I could handle my husband's gentle insults. My skin is not thick enough. I apologize. This is not a trend on which I could hop. Could you?
No, and honestly, I don't even know that I understand it, nor do I wish to.
Suspect clips his toenails once a year and cuts up my legs in the bed every other day.
Yeah, that's
true.
not. See, top of the episode where I talk about comedy. Yeah, I don't get it. And here's the other part. It's like that slap me in the face with a tortilla one. I don't really. Why?
With a mouthful of water and see if it.
You lost me at slap me in the face. Like, I don't know why this
gently insult me as
right?
I don't
Let's
like it.
Push. Yeah, I mean, there's so many of these things where you're doing something mean to somebody else. But like, I fundamentally don't
I can't
get it.
handle it. I don't have a thick enough skin. I'm not that person. I was wondering if you could gently be insulted by your spouse and then throw it up on TikTok for funsies afterwards.
Well, I am so far out of this trend for all the reasons stated. And here's the kicker. My husband would, I don't even know how strong the language is I could conjure to tell you his againstedness of being anywhere remotely connected with TikTok, either on it, in it, around it. Like, it's hard enough for him to even look at the TikToks that I send him. And these are like potentially marriage ending if you don't look at it. Like, I send some legit TikToks. I'm like, This is it, man. This is a pass or fail in the rest of your fucking life. And you better watch it today. And he's like, he has no interest.
Is it the will you get me a cup of please get me a cup of coffee?
No, and those made me really sad also.
For the women.
for everybody involved.
What's in it for me is
For
not a
everyone
response
involved.
to, can you get me a coffee?
Here's the trend. Someone is filming you. Person A films person B. It's usually the wife filming the husband, which is gross to start out with. I'm going to put you on test and then share it. I'm setting you up, and then I'm going to share it publicly. Like, okay, I'm already out. What the fuck? So the woman films the husband, which I don't know how many husbands get filmed all the time and don't think it's a little bit weird that your wife is pointing her phone at you when she asks you a direct question. Like, okay, what kind of house do you live in, number one?
That's normal, yeah.
She's staring and says, would you go make me a cup of coffee? And the point of the content is, let's see what he does now. Like,
Did
we're in
you
some
get a
kind
good
of
man?
marital zoo.
Right.
Yeah, and it's an anthropological study of your entire relationship.
It's exactly what it is.
Down to what happens when someone is relaxing on the sofa just like you at a time when coffee is not required and is expected to stop everything that they're doing to get up and get you something only you want. Like, it's such a weird, false, dumb, stupid, idiotic premise. And at the same time, why are you so ridiculous that you would look at someone and say, could you go get me a cup of coffee while I sit here and do nothing for no reason at all? As opposed to, in my world, not where I live, any of that, in my brain, in my fantasy of what life is, I would expect,
or should be. Yeah.
I would expect someone to say, I'm going to get a cup of coffee, right? Do you want one? And as beginning to stand, the partner might say, why don't I get it? Like, that to me is the test. And it's, I don't even like the word test. That to me is like, oh.
The demonstration.
Yeah,
yes,
I'm going to do something. I've decided I have a need that I will fulfill. Can I share with you? And the answer is, let me help you fulfill that need. That to me is the partnership you're looking for. When you look at someone and say, go fill this need for me, and the slave stands up to do it, how is that any better than the slave looking at you and going, fuck your coffee and your camera, TikTok? Like, all of it's a fail to me.
My question along those lines is more systemic. Why are we setting each other up to fail? I think you know what you have in a partner. If I said right now, as my husband's pulling out of the garage to go somewhere else to a meeting, fuck, I need a cuppa, he would get out of his car, go in the house and get me a cuppa. You are setting, you know what your husband's going to do. The guy who said, why, what's in it for me? Okay, now that you know what he's going to do, and God help you if you're married to somebody and you don't know their response. Like, what? Okay. If you get an embarrassing response like, I chose wrong as in a partner, why are you putting that on the internet? Why are you putting that out there on social media to say,
I have
look at this dick. He's my life partner. Get in line, ladies. He's all mine.
The whole thing is so troubling to me because it is a real trigger for me because I know that I'm not behaving in that little test scenario. I'm not behaving properly, and I will not test it with anybody I live with because I have created an environment where they're not behaving properly, and it's equal parts a statement about them as it is about me. And here's how I know this. On one of the many millions of times that I hung out with our friends, Annie and Tom, I don't even remember where the fuck we were or why. It was just the three of us for some short reason. We were probably in transit somewhere. We walked into a cafe, and God help me, it was gluten-free. I mean, I already remember how bad that was, but, it has to be. I do love them, so I'm willing to do these things. That honestly should be the test, okay?
Will you get a muffin that tastes like cardboard for me? Do you
Where
love
should
me?
we eat? And they said, this looks like a great gluten-free option. And my answer was, get ready.
Sure.
Great was my answer.
Oh, it is not great, but
Great.
Okay, let's go.
And we went in there, and I found something to eat, and I was happy as a fucking clam. And the point of the story is we sat down at the table, and Annie looked down at the menu, and she went, I forgot my glasses. Like the readers, right? And she looked up across the table, and she said, Tom, I forgot my glasses. Would you go get them for me? And he went, sure. And he got up, and as he was leaving, the whole interaction was so bizarre to me. It stands out to me, and you're making a face now.
I don't know why it stands out yet.
That alone is a problem. I can't imagine any part of this scenario. And the whole thing, it's still, I feel my skin getting a little hot because I'm embarrassed. Because here's the thing. I got to just say straight up. I absolutely love Annie. I absolutely love Tom.
Yeah.
Their relationship privately, because I know enough about them, is enviably loving. There is zero issue here. It is absolutely excellent.
Okay.
Nobody has any issue here, right? So this is a great we all surround ourselves with people who we aspire to be more like, right? So when she did this, I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And then he got up and I thought, what the fuck is wrong with him? And the whole lunch, I was fixated privately on this because I knew it was just about me. But I was like, I don't believe what I just saw. It was as shocking to me as if she said, I'm going to stab you in the nuts. And he went, here's the knife. Like, it was the weirdest thing.
I don't understand what you don't understand. Were the glasses 17 miles away? Were the glasses in the car? I don't understand how hard he had to work.
I don't get, and that's it. So at the time, I just left it undealt with. And this trend on TikTok is the same thing all over again. And I get such an ick about it because I have to, I'm just inventing this as I go to try and break, let's do some on-air live therapy. Okay.
That's
so
what
when
we do.
when she said, I forgot my glasses, why she did not immediately rise to go get her glasses is a question, right? I just would have expected her, I've identified a problem. Or even to say nothing and to silently stand up and say, I have to go get my glasses, right? To just announce to that so we'd know where she was going. That would have been my first go-to move. It would not have been weird, although it would have been surprising for the man in the scene to go, I'll get them for you. Sit. That's weird. That never happens in my life. I would never expect it. But
Okay,
it happens
I'm getting
in your
a picture now. It
happens in your life. It happens it is normal in
Regularly.
everybody else's life,
Yeah.
right? And then it would sometimes go in my friends' lives where the spouse would say, you're not doing that. I'm doing that. You sit, I get, which to me is a third level of oddity. It's a curiosity. What is this, right? So for all of that to be presumed before she even started, I have a need. You're going to solve it. And I'm telling you to solve my need with the complete expectation that there is nothing weird or there's no request being made. It is no different than please pass the salt. And to me, it was the same as if she was saying, I would like you to lift 6,000 pounds over your head and hold it there while I have my nails painted by someone else.
Tickle your testicles.
And then when I'm done, I'll tell you when you can put it down, maybe. Like it was just, and none of that was happening. None of that was happening at all. And so then come all the way full circle to the end of it where I was like, and I'm going to start crying now. I even sat there and thought, because I got really upset at the time and I just like stuffed it all down. I was like, what is it like to sit somewhere and need something and expect someone else to get it for you? Like, what is that even like? What is that like? My kids
Amy,
came.
I
My
wanna
kids.
hug you so
my
badly
kids came
right
home
now.
last night. Well, because it's so upsetting because I feel privileged to have trained my young men into understanding that they have all that they need and that if they ever want something, I am the first call and that I will get it for them. And that has bitten me on the ass and turned into walk in the door, what's for dinner, where are we going, what did you plan for me, I'm sitting down watching a show, I've made you dinner and left it out for you, can you heat this up for me? When they walk into dinner already waiting for them, can you heat this up for me? And my answer is, before I can say, of course, I'm moving to do it. And that's me. That's not good.
You
for
have
them.
set yourself up in a way.
That's not good. And guess what that is? I am the perfect mom by Italian standards. And I have made the perfect Italian men.
All three, warm and caring and thoughtful and adding to society.
I have a lot of friends who are very organized. I have a Dina in my life who I cherish. I know that when I'm getting together with Dina, I don't have to do shit. She has thought about every fucking thing, and I pretend that she loves doing it. Because
and she has snacks, too.
Because what I think is happening is she can't stand it not being done. And
her
so,
way. Finish that sentence.
I'm
her
not going to
way.
say that.
She
you're
likes
laying
things
that,
done right, so she
Okay.
does it her way.
You and I are saying the same thing. She can't stand not having it done, and in the vacuum of no one rising to do it, because I won't, I'm okay if it's not done. I love that it is done. She's not okay if it's not done, so she's fucked, because now she's got a permanent job of doing it, and I am describing to you my life, right? Nobody is going to put the shit onto a plate because we eat out of a plate, not a bag, because we're not fucking raccoons. I mean, you understand?
Have you lost that love
My
and
mind?
feeling? No.
Yeah.
Have you lost that love and feeling for being the one who does all of the Dorinda Medley's Make It Nice stuff? Have you lost that love and feeling?
You are tapping into the core insight here, my dear.
Does it no longer bring you joy to
let me say to you from the deepest part of my soul, I have never wanted to do this for everyone. Ever.
But you did.
I don't get joy in doing this for everyone. I get joy because this is the way it's done. We do this, and I get joy that it is done. In the same way that, do you get joy on Mother's Day when someone serves you a plate of gummy, I don't even know what.
It feels like another Dina story.
Gummy
that
pancakes
her kids made her breakfast.
And eggs that have been mixed with glue. And I mean, I don't even know what to tell you.
I have joy that somebody thought about me.
They present you with something with love, but they are not experts in doing it. And it's like, now I get to pretend. Now these flowers are a burden. I understand on some level, right? Right?
They are a burden.
Because you would love to get flowers that don't also make you have an ick. Okay?
That I now need to cut the stems, put the shit in it, keep them alive, re-add water as they die, clean up the counter, throw it away as they smell like shit. Like, that's a burden.
I'm not, when people are like, you should have your own restaurant. I'm like, why on earth would I want to serve masses of people who I don't even care about? Like the idea, like I love having the shit done properly. I love enjoying it with the people that I love, and I love that they enjoy it. I'm not lying awake at night going, how can I give more to these people who have no interest, who love to receive from me, right? I love to receive too. That's what I'm saying.
I'm
right?
a receiver.
Right?
I'm a reliever.
So it was never about selfless service. I do some, and I do far less than I should, selfless service in my life, and you don't hear about it because I don't post about it. I don't talk about it. That's the kind of shit you do without getting caught, right? When you're doing something
highest level mitzvah. I love that.
And just to follow that up, because it's the insinuation is that I expect something in running my house or my life in a certain way, and I guess I do. What I expected without knowing it, and I'm only now cluing into the insight that I did have an expectation, is that the appreciation would manifest in some form of reciprocity. And that could be something along the lines of, you sit down, you've made this meal.
I'll clear the table, you cook,
yeah,
I'll clean.
And that shit happens. That shit happens. But when I see something like, I direct you to get my coffee on TikTok, and I will film your response because I somehow
because the world must know.
Like, that is on so many levels just such a crazy trigger for me. Anyway,
dear listener, what generational fuck-huppedness do you have in addition to telling us what magazines and catalogs you used to get? Seriously, is this part of your childhood trauma drama? Is it part of your genetic makeup? Is it in the fibers of your being? Did you like Nobody Wants This? Tell us your thoughts. Again, also tell us from where you're writing, because we get so many responses we might lose track.
To keep track of them all.
Thank you so much for turning us on today. I hope we turned you on in some way, and that it wasn't talking about that fuck Tom or whoever his podcast is who told Puerto Rico they are trash because he knew his audience.
And guess what? Puerto Ricans are great. So.
They are great. Boy, have they put up with shit. But guess what? They have a vote too. So here's your chance, Puerto Rico. For those of us who stood at the Puerto Rican Day Parade because we lived on 88th and 2nd, and you ended your parade at 88th and 2nd and hung with us for hours after, we love you. You belong here. Make the right choice. Get out and vote.
I love it. And guess what? By next week, it'll all be over, sorta.
From your mouth. Sorta is right. That's the one.
Phase one will be over.
Phase one. Election day, phase one.
Chapter 1. All right, that's it. And with that, we'll say
bye.
Podcast over. I quit.